Good afternoon to you, Diabo. I know you've been interacting with lots of small and medium enterprises. Take us through what's happening now.
Nzinga, so this is it. So this is the end of the second annual investment conference that was first held last night, throughout the day really, at the Sandton Convention Center. And the second leg of it came here to the Soweto UJ campus, where today's focus was largely on entrepreneurship and scaling up small businesses, and really including them into this whole investment conversation. You'll know that so far around 360 billion rand has also been pledged, which takes the total number to around 660, because last year, if you remember, there was also an investment made of around 336 odd billion. But I have asked the economic advisor to the president, Ms. Trudy Makaya, to come and help us wrap the whole event, and also tell us about the events that we couldn't get into, the talks and that we couldn't get to, so we find out if whatever we had planned, we have actually achieved. Ms. Makaya, thank you so much for making time to speak to us. So this is it. The work has finished here, but essentially it has begun.
Yes, no, it's important to emphasize that, for this conference, the work began last year. When we held the first conference, got commitments, and then we worked the whole year to ensure that those commitments are in track, that companies are doing what they said they would do, that we help them where there are constraints that are within government's control to resolve, and to also encourage them to do more. So you would have seen yesterday that the first thing that Minister Patel did, and also in the president's opening remarks, was to give a reflection on the outcomes of last year's investment conference. There were video clips that were shown of the work that's been done, factories being opened, ground being broken at various factories. It's not always easy to visualize some of it. Some of it is virtual, technology driven, but we tried very hard. All in all, to summarize, at least 240 out of the 300 billion pledges from last year are in implementation, and we're happy with the progress. There's a few that's remaining where we're going to help to unblock the issues. So we do see progress. We must also remember it's a 5-year target, so we're working towards that.
I'm curious, Trudy, about what happens now to the companies or individuals who have pledged but not come forth. What do you do? Do you run after them? Do you ask them to recommit? What do you do? How do you deal with that?
So, you could think of it as, I joke that we have a collections department where, it's almost like collectors who go and see what is the issue. So Investors AI, Investment Promotion Agency, tries to understand, is it regulatory blockages that we can help you resolve? Remember, it's also a 5-year target. It might also be that, no, you gave us a 5-year plan, but you're planning to kick some of it in year 2 or year 3. So there's also that consideration. So that's what we do. We try to be proactive to say, what is holding you up? Of course, it's business. So sometimes it might be that somebody made a bit of a wrong call and they're not quite ready. So there's also those, but those are very rare. This year, we had commitments to the tune of 363 billion rands. Once again, some of them talking to the 5-year period. And, for someone to come up on stage and to pledge, we tried very hard to have due diligence to say, do you have the approvals that you need within your own company? Have you done your homework? So we're confident that once again, over 80%, 90% of those pledges will be realized within this 5-year period. And if you think about it, where we are now, 300 billion last year, 363 this year, we're kind of on track to be halfway towards our 1.2 trillion target. So we just have to make sure that we got there a bit earlier than we thought, but we must bed it down, make sure that it happens, and also motivate companies that the way you engage in your investment activities have to talk to community development, has to be inclusive. We also try very hard to ensure that our state-owned and funders have a diverse range of entities that they're supporting, so that we're seeing investment coming from all quarters, and also that it's spatially diverse and that no one is left behind.
Great. So I want us to bring in the entrepreneurs, because today was largely focused on them. The president speaking about how much support they need, from government and from the private sector as well. How are you going to be incorporating them into the investment conversation?
So one way we incorporate them is that when we engage with our super kind of large multinational investors, we ensure that they have a plan in place in terms of their supply chain to support local entrepreneurs. We also ensure that those entrepreneurs who have compelling propositions, compelling businesses, are put in front of investors at platforms like this, as particularly today, so that people coming into the country and also domestic investors who are a bit removed from the grassroots come here and get to understand how are entrepreneurs working at the cutting edge, at the frontier markets and township economies. What are the challenges they face and how do you turn that into opportunity? So you'd have seen from our panels that we have a mix of both very aspirant entrepreneurs who are looking for funding, but also those angel investors, venture capitalists who need to be brought to environments like this to say, come and see this vibrancy, come and understand what's happening here and participate in it.
Trudy Makaya, thank you so much for making time to speak to us and sharing your views about this investment conference. We do hope to catch up with the team to find out, how everything is going. But we do thank you for your time. Thank you. Nzinga, that was Trudy Makaya. She is an economist by profession and also the economic advisor to the president, and really just helping me to wrap up the 2 days of the second annual investment conference, which so far has collected about 60-odd billion in investment. And of course, we'll be monitoring that throughout until the next one to see how it is spent and if indeed it is realizing all that it says it will do.
Diabo Sitha giving us an update there from the second South Africa Investment Conference. That conference is closing today. It's seen around 1,200 investors from across the world gathered in Sandton and gathered in Soweto to try and hear this message of South Africa trying to secure investment for the most advanced economy on the continent.